Hey, thanks for hanging out. In this video, I'm going to show you some modifications I'm making to my squat rack and my overhead cable pulley machine. Let's get to it. When you make something yourself, it's not always going to be perfect, and often you'll find things that you want to change or improve as you go along, and this is no exception. I want to rotate this around and mount it on the end of this support bar just to give me a little bit more clearance. The other thing I'm going to do is attach this eye bolt to the weight tree that's supported by the cable, and what I'm going to do then is run a cable in the eye bolt between the bottom and the support rail here to be able to provide a little bit of guidance for the weight tree as it moves up and down. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and weld a plate to the bottom of the weight tree as well. And that's just going to give me some more stability as I put the weight tree down to unload and reload it. Let's get to it.
I start by removing the pulleys and cable. I grind off the pulley attachment and sand it smooth with a flat disc. Cut a piece of flat bar stock the same size as the end of the extension tube, dress it on the sander and then weld it in place. Then I weld the pulley bracket in its new position. I'm drilling a clearance hole in the weight tree for the eye bolt. I'll weld a nut on to secure the eye bolt to the weight tree. Cutting some tube to weld together to add to the base of the squat rack to give a larger surface area for the weight tree to sit on. I'm grinding the welds flush so it sits nice and flat on the ground. After welding it in place, I'll grind those welds flush as well, so the weight tree sits nice and flat also. I'm cutting the plate for the bottom of the weight tree, and I'm just rounding the corners off a bit so there's no sharp edges. I've centered it up and now welding it in place. I cut and weld some small pieces of equal angle to the bottom of the weight tree to cap the ends of the tubes and also add some extra support. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's got a nice large flat base that'll sit flush. It's strong and won't move around when loading and unloading weights. A quick tidy up with the flap disc and it'll be ready for installation. The next thing I do is weld a small D-ring to the base that the guide cable and turnbuckle will attach to. After reattaching the weight tree, I'm adding a cable with a D-shackle at the top and a turnbuckle with a hook at the bottom. The hook will make it easy to get on and off if there's any adjustment that's needed. the guide cable is attached and it's nice and tight. It's now time for a test. It really works well. I'm really happy with how this has turned out.
Today's few modifications on this are all done. I'm happy with how everything went. So the first thing I did was I moved this pulley system. It used to be here, and I moved it down to here, and that was for two reasons. One, the cable was getting a little bit close to the end of here when it was sitting on top, and also this gives me a little bit of extra room down the bottom, which I'll show you in a minute, for the weight tree to be able to move up and down and not hit any other parts of the squat rack. So that was done, which went well. The other thing that I did was I mounted this fixing point to the bottom of this extension bar up here to be able to hook the one end of a cable to, and that cable is now taut and attached to the bottom as well, and that's what the eye bolt that's attached to the weight plate runs in, which I'll show you shortly. So down here, the other modifications I made, I added the plate to the bottom of the weight tree. I've added a little bit of extra support for that to stop it from rocking around. That's really nice and stable now. The other thing that I did was I added this eye bolt to the weight tree, and as you can see, that cable now runs down through the eye of that eye bolt. So now as the weight tree moves up and down, it really can't move around a lot, which is great. So when it goes up and down, it will stay in the position that it's in. It won't twist around, and it won't get a rock up, which would happen from time to time before. So overall, really happy with how this has all turned out. Painting is the next step, which is a bigger project, but I'll get to that at some stage, and I'll also give you a walk around of the whole squat rack and high cable setup at some stage as well. Thanks for watching this video on modifications to my squat rack and high cable pulley setup. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave those below. If you liked what you saw, then please consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and let's get after it.